our parents met in birthing class, and every single time I see Santana, like at the start of the new year, my mom was like, "That's Santana from birthing class." So I've known Santana technically our entire lives through our parents. My media journey began in 4th grade. I joined the media club because I wanted to be in morning broadcast, and towards the end of my 6th grade year, I'd done a HIKI NŌ, and I liked that process. And I just kept doing digital media throughout middle school, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna stop now.
For me, what got me interested into media would probably be the pandemic. Before that, I wasn't anywhere near interested in anything to do with digital media. Miss Roy is actually a really good family friend of mine. So when I started getting into filmmaking and photography, she kind of persuaded me to take her class, and that's kind of how I got into it.
I wanted to find ways of teaching students different ways to tell stories. And a lot of times in English, we have them do journals for college entry exams, etc. But I thought about, why not do it visually? Came up with this idea. It's kind of like a personal narrative, but they weren't allowed to be in the actual video. So that kind of started off as being a kind of a cool challenge for them. You know, how do they tell the story about themselves without actually being in it?
This isn't really me, but today I'm gonna show you what my life is like. I grew up here. Oh wait, no, here. Throughout all of my life, I grew up on Maui with a pretty social life. I always had friends and someone to talk to. Played ukulele.
One of the assignments that she came up with was doing a personal narrative. So for me, it was kind of trying to narrow down a story or something in my life that kind of resembled me, and I felt like on the journey on how I got into photography and filmmaking really was something that I could do with my brother.
Finally, something new, something to kill time on, something to keep me busy. Eventually, after a year and a half of being isolated from the rest of the world, I started to get pretty good at this camera stuff. Here, let me just show you.
It was basically the first time we were asked to do a story about ourselves, and you also can't show your face in it. So for me at the time, I was really struggling with a lot of anxiety on where I wanted my future to go. So I wrote about not knowing where I'm gonna go to college and some of the anxieties I had in regards to whether all the stuff I did was worth it in the end if I wasn't sure on like what I wanted to do in the future. And while my peers' ideas for the future could change and evolve into something completely different down the line, I couldn't help but compare myself to them because it was still better than what I had in mind, which was nothing. My carefully planned life, filled to the brim with extracurriculars and classes, comes to a halt when I reach the day I graduate high school. Because from there, the pages for my story are blank. That video has some of the best cinematography I've done throughout my career. I'm actually really proud of that video. And it taught me that it's okay to be proud of the works you make, especially ones that you put a lot of hard work into, and showing that emotional vulnerability can be really helpful in storytelling. Once I'd published that video through HIKI NŌ, I got an email saying I had won an award for Mental Health in America, the Hawaii Award for Student Voice.
I'm glad I got the self-awareness to know and understand and be okay with taking the first steps to knowing it's okay to not know. Thank you.
That really changed my perspective on that. I didn't realize that that message had been so powerful or impactful to people. My entire life, I've struggled with a lot of anxiety and a little sprinkle of depression, but making sure I can share that and work through it, it's a form of helping myself be more realistic with my goals, and being true to myself while also maybe hoping that someone along the way can realize that other people use creativity as a way to fuel through hard emotional times. Even if I don't have all the answers yet, I still have the opportunity to find them. However long it takes me, one day, one page at a time. HIKI NŌ has really been the biggest opportunity in showing me as a student, like students in my generation, we had a purpose and we could impact media in general.
Hey there, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about
My favorite camera that I've owned at the moment, which is the...
I'm pretty used to being on camera because I do have a YouTube channel that I kind of post about and run on my own.
Santana is like my son in school. Once he wants to do something or know something, he'll just immerse himself in it. So during COVID, he just kind of like studied everything online by himself and mastered all these different things with the camera, with coloring, with editing, with lighting.
Eventually, I kind of want to lean into directing and just being able to focus on telling a story instead of having to worry about shooting it all. I've been filming a lot of stuff on my own for like the better half of 3 years now. I'm excited to go into like a bigger crew kind of production, learn the ins and outs of each department, and then take that into my future career. Doing HIKI NŌ also got me to get an opportunity to work with PBS Hawaiʻi as a stringer shooter. So what that is that I get hired to sort of get footage from an outer island to send back to PBS Hawaiʻi. I've shot stuff for PBS Hawaii's Kako and Insights episodes.
But if it's a mid-term solution and not a long-term solution, and you're reinforcing the beach so that the economy could continue to thrive, is money being put away?
I got the opportunity to come to the studio. You know how everyone has their, look mom, I made it moment. That was one of those moments for me as I'm just like standing in front of the lights, the cameras are rolling, it's all so big and huge. And then knowing that like people asked me to be here to talk about stories that people in my own community made. And I think there's something really powerful about that, getting the chance to be recognized and support your community by sharing their voices and being able to support your peers through that. It really made me consider a career in film. It's something I might be interested in minoring in when I'm in college.
I'll share those pieces with you throughout this episode.
I will be going to Pacific University in the fall next year, and that is in Forest Grove, Oregon. And I think a lot of the times, like leading up until that decision I made on May 1st, annual college decision day, it was a lot of anxiety. Like, I'm gonna be completely real, I was so stressed and really scared a lot of the time. And that came down to accepting the message in my own film that I written a year ago, that I need to trust myself, that everything will be okay in the end, and it was worth it to keep going.
Some things are not as important as they seem to be, because when you look back on like some of the things I was stressed about like freshman year, I'm just like, I would have had a lot more time if I didn't like stress myself out.
That video was extremely motivated by the stress we were under at the time. So we wrote that video about the stress students feel to succeed in high school so they can set themselves up for their future, and how much of life they end up missing out on. And it's really hard to strike a balance between that.
So in the fall, I'm actually going to be heading over to Portland. I'm not going to be attending college. Chose to take a little different route and try and go on the job in a production company. Yeah, they do a lot of commercial campaign, right up my alley kind of stuff. So I'm excited. For sure, I would say HIKI NŌ definitely had a part in preparing me. It kind of helped me practice communicating through online emailing and learn how to work with people off island where I live.
For Hawaii in general, it's important to have programs like these just so you give students and kids the opportunity to grow, being able to share it with your community and then see what other communities in Hawaii are doing. We're still on islands separated from each other, so having a program that draws from students from across the state, it's really important for us to connect with each other by storytelling in our own communities.
I think my generation has a lot to say, and I also think that HIKI NŌ is also giving kids a platform to kind of speak their vision and speak what they feel. Providing something like that is really important.